pleasure to introduce the person who all you waiting to listen to him. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Sumeet Bahl. Dr. Bell is a board-certified radiologist, vascular interventional radiology. Dr. Bell is widely respected for his expertise in minimum invasive life-saving procedures. Dr. Bell serves on several medical boards as Conning Health, Hip Hop is Green, and Plant Power Metro New York. That's great. Dr. Bell has nearly 30 years of experience in meditation. He is deeply committed to expanding the collective consciousness of humanity. His daily practice shapes not only just the personal life, but also his mission to promote compassionate living. He is a dedicated vegan and enthusiastic weightlifter. He believes that our food choices influence far more than our health. They are tied to well-being and liberation of all living beings. Please join me in welcoming the inspiring and compassionate Dr. Sumeet Bahl. And also please give big round of applause to Mr. H.K. Shah and Malti Ben and Rakesh Bhargavaji for putting up this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna stand on this side now, so I don't cover that.
Okay, fine.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Thank you so much for that warm introduction and for having me here today. So, as she said, my name is Sumeet. Just call me Sumeet. If you ever talk to me, don't call me Dr. Bahl. I'm very informal. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here. I became vegan about 8 years ago now. My inspiration was my Masi, who lives in New Delhi, and this film, What the Health. Has anyone ever seen What the Health before? You've seen it, okay. It should still be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it is. That film changed how I view veganism. I thought vegans were crazy at one point because I said, nothing harms the animal. I was already vegetarian for 20 years by this point. I said, it doesn't really harm the animal. Then, because of the work that individuals like you in this room do, I was exposed to what the animal agriculture industry is like. What are the effects on the environment? So these are the things that started changing how I view my own life and how I want to carry out my message to everyone else as a physician. As she mentioned, I'm a vascular interventional radiologist. I don't know if most people know what an interventional radiologist is. I hope you never have to run into anyone like us because the things that we do are so nuanced that you really should just try to avoid us if you can. But basically, it's minimally invasive image-guided procedures is what we do. And I've also added in diagnostic radiology. So I read a lot of CAT scans, X-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds, and the number of things that I see on these things that were so preventable. And I'm seeing 20-year-olds that are morbidly obese with their gallbladder removed. I see these all the time. I said, 20. So if I'm seeing the scan now, when was the gallbladder removed? At 15? You know? And so these things are associated with high-fat diets, for example. A lot of them animal protein, a lot of animal fat. So this is the inspiration for this talk. So what I'm going to do is take you through a couple of aspects here. Now, the name of this talk, if anyone saw the flyer, is the spiritual and scientific benefits of veganism. Why the spiritual side? As you introduced, I have about almost 30 years of meditation experience. I've been doing it since I was 14 years old. I had my first, you could say, existential crisis into what is consciousness, what is life, where do we go when we die, when I was 10 years old. And I asked my mom, and she had this talk with me, and that changed my life. And ever since then, I said, I want to bring the practice into my own life. And as I was doing that, more and more things started to expand. And that was the thing, that as I got deeper into deeper into my own practice, I started thinking about what is the impact of the actions that I do on the rest of the world, and that's where veganism came in. So, in line with World Vegan Vision's 3 main goals, if you don't know what they are, they're on their website and they're very well laid out as you've done: health, environment, and animal rights. And I'm going to take you through all 3 of those in this talk to see how I view those, and the animal rights part, because of my meditation background, from a spiritual perspective. So what you're going to see on this slide is these slides were provided by Plant Powered Metro New York. I don't know if you've ever heard of Plant Powered Metro New York. Yeah, okay, great. So a lot of fans here. Liana will be very proud to hear this. But Plant Powered Metro New York is an organization that's done a lot of proactive work in bringing communities together to expand both online, in-person resources to understand the benefits of a plant-based diet. And so I'm on the medical advisory board for them, and hence this is where these slides come from. So we offer evidence-based education, resources, and support to ignite awareness and change throughout the New York metropolitan area. And it's actually expanded beyond New York. It's in New Jersey and the tri-state area. Okay, so who's heard of the blue zones? Rakeshji had mentioned the blue zones before. You've heard of them? Okay. So the blue zones are 5 areas in the world: Loma Linda, California, that's in Southern California; Nicoya, Costa Rica; Sardinia, Italy; Ikaria, Greece; and Okinawa, Japan. What they all have in common as blue zones is the highest number of centenarians in the world. More individuals over the age of 100, which HKG is going to be proof of this, is what are the benefits of your lifestyle, the things that you do, your community, all of these. There's multiple factors that have made these individuals in these communities blue zones. So I'm going to go through some of them. What's unique about some of them? Ikaria, Greece, right over here, Ikaria. So they have 1/10 the dementia rate compared to individuals in the United States. Okinawa, Japan, the highest number of females over the age of 100, the highest female population over the age of 100. 30 times more centenarians than the United States. 30 times. Sardinia, Italy. So we talk about cardiovascular risk in men. Well, Sardinia, Italy is proving that wrong. 11 times more centenarians than the United States. They have the oldest male population in the world. So clearly they're doing something right. Now there's only one area in the United States that has this, as Rakeshji mentioned, Loma Linda. This is a group called the Seventh-day Adventists. They are a type of sect of Christianity, and the major focus for them is using their body as a means to get closer spiritually. And that's a fundamental concept with this community. So this is going to be small for you to see, but the key here is that this is some of the things that, from a food perspective, the blue zones do on a monthly, weekly, and daily aspect of their life. To summarize this, because you're all kind of sitting far away, but the bottom here, 95 to 100% plant-based. Okay? That's a key component here. Now, I say 95 to 100%. It does not mean that they're 100% vegan, nor should they necessarily have to be. If we're going to go from an ethical standpoint, of course, we're going to say 100%, right? But from a practical standpoint for these communities, they're living just fine, at least being 95 to 100%. What are some other things? They walk regularly. They minimize their dairy consumption. They minimize their egg consumption, minimize fish, meat. They have a great sense of community, which is huge. And we have a big, huge, especially since the pandemic, a major community and loneliness epidemic. All of you in this room are solving that right now by coming together. So here's one of the studies that came out as they were looking at the blue zones. This is called the Adventist Health Study. And they were looking at the body mass index. And if you don't know what the body mass index or BMI is, it's a weight to height ratio. A lot of your doctors are going to mention that. The paradigm is shifting, not necessarily always using the BMI, but it's still very relevant. And if you look down on the bottom, right here, it goes non-vegetarian, semi-vegetarian, pescatarian, lacto-ovo-vegetarian, and vegan. And what you're going to see is that the highest BMIs in this study of 100,000 people, this is a huge study, the highest BMIs at 28.8 with the non-vegetarians, the lowest BMIs right over here at 23.6. If you don't know your BMI categories, 25, a BMI of 25 is considered overweight. The only category out of all 5 of these that is below the overweight BMI is the vegans at 23.6. Clearly something's going on right. So the next one, about 61,000 people the Adventist Health study looked at, and this was the effect of diabetes, type 2 diabetes prevalence in this community. And out of the 61,000 people who were non-vegetarian, 7.6% had type 2 diabetes. But over here, the vegans, 3%. So what are you seeing? Lower BMIs, lower rates of type 2 diabetes in individuals who live a vegan lifestyle. This one's very impressive. Multiple diseases, coronary heart disease, colon cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, and lymphoma. They're looking at all these rates, and what you're seeing, what they were looking at was the US versus Japan versus Okinawa. And remember I mentioned Okinawa is that community in Japan who has the highest female population of centenarians and more than 30 times the number of centenarians. What's going on there? With no surprise, look at this, how tall this one goes. This is the United States in terms of coronary heart disease. Far, far more coronary heart disease than in Japan and most certainly Okinawa. But what you're going to notice, Okinawa is the one in the black here. Look, all of them lower in each of these categories, each of these chronic diseases. Okinawans who have a largely plant-based diet have the lowest rates of these diseases. Leading causes of death in the United States. Again, no surprise, heart disease. Number 2, cancer. So, a lot of people ask me, was this cancer preventable? We have accepted, and this is a very sad thing to see, the number of times I've operated on someone who had some of these disease entities. We've often said that if you live long enough as a man, you're going to get prostate cancer. If you live long enough as a woman, you're going to get breast cancer. That does not have to be the case. A lot of people think of breast cancer as something that's has a genetic basis. Only 5% of breast cancer. When we talk about BRCA1, BRCA2 genes, that's it. The remainder of it is, so some of it is something that you might say happens later on in life. A component of it, though, because we know of the hormonal response of this tissue to certain dietary habits, for example, dairy consumption, there's not a causative response, but a correlative response. The higher the amount of dairy you consume, the higher the risk of breast cancer. The higher amount of dairy you consume, the higher risk of prostate cancer. Why? Because yes, milk is a very, very nutritious substance, but it's designed for the animal, the offspring of that being. An adult in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you keep going, should not be consuming the milk of another organism. There's no need for it. We don't actually need it. We get plenty of nutrition from other sources. We can reverse cardiovascular disease. You're not going to hear a lot of cardiologists. I don't know if there's any cardiologists in the room, or any other physician. I know there's a number of physicians in the room. And for those of you who are not in the room, many of the other medical community out there is going to say, no way, you can actually reverse, you can slow it down, you can put a stent in, you can do things like that, but there's no way you can actually reverse it. Well, this study here by a very, very well-known cardiovascular surgeon, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, I'm sure you've heard of him, very, very famous individual. He did a study in 2014 that looked at the ability to reverse cardiovascular disease. Now, the caveat with this study is that it's a very low number of individuals. They only looked at around 12 individuals. It was not a high-powered study. However, the results are pretty significant in that you can see here, this is called a PET scan. Look at the blood flow to this area of the heart. 3 weeks, just 3 weeks after lifestyle intervention only, no medication, you can see blood flow returns to the heart. Right over here, look at this blood vessel, very, very narrow. This is the left anterior descending artery. This is also known as the widowmaker. Why? Because, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So that when that has a major blockage, that's what kills patients instantly. If you can survive that, that's pretty impressive, right? But look at this. This is after 3 years of a plant-based diet. Look at the return of blood flow. This is a space that I work in as an interventional radiologist all the time, in the legs and arms, substantial improvements in blood flow. This one, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to play this video, but it's about reversing diabetes. You may know who this individual is. If you don't know who he is, okay, Dr. Barnard, right? So he's the founder of an organization called the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM. There's an app for it as well. Take a look. He's a brilliant individual. Fiber. Some of the vegans in this room are probably guilty of this. You may not even be getting enough fiber. Only 5% of the population meets the fiber recommendations. Why is fiber such a big deal? So the reason fiber is such a big deal does a number of things. It absorbs water, so it slows down gut emptying. What that means is it allows for you to feel full for a longer period of time, therefore you're consuming less. It allows for more nutrient absorption, and it allows for more regular bowel movements. So there's a couple of different types of fiber, or two types, soluble and insoluble fiber. And either way, consume them. They're both immensely beneficial for you. Which kinds of fiber are there? There's broccoli or cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables are things like kale, spinach, cauliflower, as well as broccoli. Bananas, beans. This is Jerusalem artichokes, blueberries, polenta, kimchi, which is a type of fermented cabbage, and tempeh. So different types of things that have fiber. You need to be consuming a lot more fiber. What is the number that you look at? For men, at least 35 grams a day of fiber. For women, at least 28 grams. And when we say at least, what you start noticing as trends go on, because lifestyle changes are so hard to make, they just keep setting the bar lower and lower for everyone. Okay, so when I say 35 and 28, that means that's the bare minimum. So we often talk about probiotics. Everyone should be getting probiotics, right? Well, there's something called prebiotics, meaning before your gut is even off kilter, what types of things can you just be consuming in the first place? Fiber. Fiber is a huge prebiotic, fiber-rich plant foods. What it does, it feeds the intestinal microorganisms, and what it produces is these short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids reduce inflammation throughout the body, increase intestinal motility, and repair leaky gut for basically improving absorption. So the key in all of that, without getting too technical, is make sure you look on whatever you're buying. And you might have to be kind of crazy about this, but read the labels. And I don't mean reading the front of the label. For all of you who are experienced with this, when it says reduced fat, and it's all marketing, go to the back, go to the nutrition label, and that's where you're going to really find what you need to find on there. So the standard American diet and calories. Take a look at this one. 56% processed food, added fats and oils, sugars, refined grains. That's a substantial portion of what we're eating. Everyone in here might be relatively mindful compared to our counterparts outside of this room, but a lot of people are just, especially with things like Netflix and everything else, you're just mindlessly eating. And there's just an endless plethora of things to distract us mentally, and a lot of foods that are out there that are processed foods, and you can just consume them to no end. 33% animal food, and lastly, plant food makes up only 11%. The reason that they actually shaded these two differently, because even within plant food, as you know, as veganism has been growing, there's lots and lots of junk food vegan out there, right? And so that's what's going on, is that you're adding into it a lot of processed food. So this is kind of overlapping with this area. So what's the key? Whole food, plant-based. You've heard this term before. If you haven't, you're new to it. It's not, there's a lot of vegan junk food out there. Whole food, plant-based. What that means is you're eating mostly plants, and you're eating whole foods as they come in their natural form. And as Rakeshji was talking about, minimizing the amount of oil you're consuming. So when we talk about comparing the macronutrients, what are we talk, I don't know if everyone knows, we talk about micronutrients, which are the various vitamins and minerals. Macronutrients, there's only three things: carbohydrates, fat, and protein. And if you look at the standard American diet versus whole food plant-based nutrition, carbohydrates in terms of whole food plant-based, mostly unrefined, fats, mostly unsaturated, and protein, mostly from plants. That's the key. In terms of caloric density, we talk about being caloric, having a very calorically dense diet and a very nutritiously dense diet. Those don't always overlap, and that's the problem. So, for example, looking at fruits and vegetables, you can get 400 calories, which is a lot of fruit and vegetables, but it fills you up, again, because of the fiber. Go to the other extreme over here, oils. That's 400 calories. It barely fills you up. So just consuming lots and lots of oil alone, the challenge between that, out of the macronutrients I mentioned, carbohydrates, fat, and protein, do you know which one is the most satiating to the tongue? Which one you're just desiring the most? That's fat. The one we want more than anything else is fat. And we can consume it, again, to no end. Now imagine, you're going to keep eating it. You don't realize that you're putting on calorie after calorie and you're still not full. And we're wondering, why do we have an obesity epidemic? Again, and it goes along with, this is going to get to the spiritual side of things, or the mindfulness side of things, is how do we keep ourselves a lot less distracted as well? So you're not mindlessly eating. With regard to nutrient density per calorie, again, it's going to be too small for you to see over here, but I'll read it for you. At the top, vegetable oils and refined sugar, very low nutrient density per calorie, go all the way down to the bottom, and raw leafy vegetables. You're talking about spinach and kale, for example. Just above that, solid green vegetables like cucumbers. Here in the middle is where you'll find the cheese, dairy, eggs, everything else. Low nutrient density per calorie compared to whole vegetables. What are the impacts of eating whole food plant-based? This basically sums it up. You're decreasing your calories, decreasing inflammation, increasing your nutrients, and increasing gut microbiota diversity, meaning basically all the gut microorganisms that are helping you digest your nutrients. The key principles of a whole food plant-based nutrition: eat whole plants such as grains, nuts, and fruit. Avoid animal products such as meat, fish, and dairy. Avoid processed artificial foods. And avoid added fats and sugars. What does the plant-powered plate look like? So here's a mix of fruits, grains, vegetables, legumes. It's very colorful. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures after this of what our ideal plate should look like, but you can see how colorful it is. They do this intentionally in this diagram, and you're going to see what the plate can really look like. Does anyone know what is the one micronutrient that a 100% vegan does not get? Does anybody know what that one is? B12, that's the one. Now, these days, even vitamin D is very hard to get. Even me, as a physician, I did not realize how low my vitamin D was until I recently had it checked. It was remarkably low. And so vitamin D is something that you should be supplementing, but it's not, don't feel guilty if you're a vegan. It's actually with everyone across the board. We're spending a lot more time inside than we used to generations ago. So vitamin B12 and vitamin D are two essential things I would add. What you might start noticing is if you supplement vitamin D, you may not be absorbing it enough, and vitamin K can help with that as well. So those are a couple of things that you can do. There's also something down here, omega-3 fatty acids. If anyone tells you that my doctor told me you need to be taking fish oil and that's the only way to get your omega-3s, they're lying to you. That's not true. They just didn't know any better, and frankly speaking, their doctor probably did not know any better. There are vegan sources of omega-3s. Some of them, chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts. But you have to consume them sparingly because they're still high in fat, so you don't want to overdo it. But there are actually vegan supplements out there. The core food groups: whole grains, vegetables, beans, fruits, nuts, and seeds. Those are something that we should be consuming every day. So I was talking about what the colors should look like. Oatmeal with these berries. This looks like a chia seed kind of smoothie or pudding. That's a smoothie right there. That looks like a tofu scramble. These are all things that are actually not complicated to make. Lunch, again, you're talking about lentils. Lentils, I know a lot of the people with the South Asian background, a lot of us are consuming lots and lots of lentils. Very, very nutritious, very high in iron as well. And dinner, again, just look how colorful it is. That's the beautiful thing about plants. It's just so fantastically colorful. It's like basically what they're saying is eat the rainbow. And so if you ever want to check it out, a couple of things that you can look at: Forks Over Knives. Is anyone on the Forks Over Knives group on Facebook? It's really, really amazing. They share lots and lots of recipes. People love showing their before and after pictures, which is really fantastic to see. So if you've been struggling with your weight or struggling with particular aspects of coronary artery disease, people just share so many great stories. Also, Plant Powered Metro New York. They've got an app. Everything's on their website. Please go check them out. Lots and lots of resources. And that's more on them. So, a little plug for this other organization. I'm going to make this part brief for the interest of time. It's another organization I'm also on the board for. It's called Hip Hop is Green. I mention them because pre-pandemic, they used to have a lot of events in New York. They're actually Seattle-based. And for those of you, there may not be a lot of hip-hop listeners in the room. I am a huge, huge fan of the music. But the key with this is that even all your children and your grandchildren, this is a music they know. It is the most popular form of pop culture in the world. It is the most replicated form. Everyone wants to know about it. Well, this individual named Keith Tucker, based in Seattle, had founded this organization to improve availability of the plant-based diet, especially in the Black and Latino community, because they are suffering the highest rates of these diseases that we're talking about. They have a 10-week curriculum called the Youth Excellence Program. We just started graduating our first individuals from the Youth Excellence Program. These are young kids, 16 to 20 years old, starting college, in the middle of college, who are actually going to be empowered to be physicians, scientists, biologists. We know a number of people doing that right now, and they learn this through their own lifestyle changes. Some of the work that's going on. Cherry Street Farm is actually, I'm going to show you, this is just one wall in Cherry Street Farm. It's basically a lab about the size, half the size of this room, and they're just growing tons and tons of vegetables along the wall. You don't need a long plots of land. You can actually do it along the wall, and that's called a hydroponic lab. So we talked about physical health. When they asked me to do this talk, of course, that was the first thing that everyone wants to know. They want to hear from a doctor. What you're not always hearing about is the environmental aspect. And I know World Vegan Vision has made an effort to make sure that we talk about the environment as well and the environmental impact. So what are the benefits of a vegan diet when it comes to the environment? Reduce greenhouse gas emissions and global warming. Why is that the case? So there's a couple of greenhouse gases. The most common one we talk about is CO2. That's the one everyone wants to always talk about, right? And that's the one that all the various summits in the world, when all the world leaders get together, they keep talking about reducing CO2 emissions. Why don't you hear them talk about methane or nitrous oxide? There's a reason you don't hear them talk about it, because those two are related to animal agriculture. They just keep talking about, if we keep mentioning CO2, we can say, oh, we need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, we need to reduce our dependence on transportation and change everything to electric vehicles. That's a fraction of what the problem is. What you may not realize, and if you've watched, again, What the Health and some other documentaries like that, we're producing more greenhouse gases from animal agriculture than the entire transportation industry combined. That is very substantial, but why are none of the world leaders at these summits talking about it? Because it's harder to change what's on your palate, on your plate and on your palate. That's what's harder to do. The other benefit of a vegan diet is maintenance of forests. Plant-based agriculture requires less deforestation, maintains biodiversity, and improves carbon capture and sequestration. This is the funny thing. Right now, you've got multi-billionaires trying to solve the energy crisis. And what they're trying to say is, we need a very effective means to capture all the carbon, because if carbon is the problem, our carbon output, our carbon footprint, especially if I'm Mark Zuckerberg and I run this huge conglomerate of AI and everything, I'm producing lots and lots of carbon output, oh, well, I need to reduce it. But you're clearing a lot of land to consume the meat and dairy that you want when you could have just maintained the trees. The simple solution was right there. It's always been there. It's the trees. They're your own natural carbon capturing and sequestration mechanism. Also, the environmental impact is less water usage. Do you know how much water it takes to produce 1 pound of beef? 1,800 gallons. 1,800 gallons. For one cup of black beans, 46 gallons. 1,800, I know, everyone's really surprised over here. I'm loving seeing everyone's face. That much water. And everyone's wondering, where's all the water? Where's all the water? We're consuming it. We're breeding animals, then killing them, and we're only doing it for 1 pound of beef just to be able to do that. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Also, by adopting a vegan diet, less water pollution. Why? So one of the things that goes into our water waste is nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide comes. It's part of fertilizer. So imagine these animals are consuming all of the green, the greens and everything on the land that they live on. It's coming out in their stool. It's going into water runoff. Nitrous oxide is 300 times more powerful from a global warming perspective than CO2. Methane that the cows produce is around 16 to 20 times more powerful. So we talk about, again, we keep talking about CO2, but really methane and nitrous oxide have more global warming potential than CO2. Again, this goes back to it. It's all very intentional by the government and leaders, is to not talk about the major preventable aspects. With regard to greenhouse gas emissions per kilogram of food product, beef by far more greenhouse gas emissions. Look down here. Nuts, potatoes, bananas, wheat and rye, peas, minimal greenhouse gas effect. This is what we're seeing right now. And as you know, what's inevitable? If this number of trees was taken down, you know these ones are waiting to go. And this is happening at an alarming rate. So this brings me to this last part. The part that is most near and dear to my heart, which everyone has their own story for why they went vegan. Sometimes it's health, sometimes it's the environment, and sometimes it might be because of compassion. Whatever your road is that leads you there, just get there somehow. And for me, I know I used to be very much a purist, and it was very much vegan or nothing. And as I've gotten to know that as we look around, there's 8 billion people in this world, and everyone's ethos is different, everyone's access is different. But veganism at its core is about kindness and compassion. And I will urge everyone to be kind to everyone who's not living the same way you are, because then if you're, I've spoken to some of the vegan activist community about this. I said, if you're yelling in people's face and you're not being kind to them, you're missing the point of veganism. Right? So it all starts with you, but be the change, right? Everyone knows that line, be the change you wish to see in the world. I don't even have to tell you who said that line, you know who it was. It was Gandhi. So I want to read a couple of these things. Ahimsa. Ahimsa people often will say is non-violence. Actually, the literal term is non-injury. Ahimsa is the highest dharma. Ahimsa is the highest self-control. Ahimsa is the greatest gift. Ahimsa is the best practice. Ahimsa is the highest sacrifice. Ahimsa is the finest strength. Ahimsa is the greatest friend. Ahimsa is the greatest happiness. Ahimsa is the highest truth, and ahimsa is the greatest teaching. This is from the Anushasana Parva in the Mahabharata. So it's right there in our literature. Next one. Buddhism. All beings tremble before danger. All fear death. When a man considers this, he does not kill or cause to kill. Guru Nanak. All living beings are his. He is the Lord and Master of all. From the Guru Granth Sahib. From the Old Testament. And God said, behold, I give you every plant that produces seeds upon the earth, and every tree that has fruit with its seed inside of it. These shall be your food. And I give all green plants to every wild animal, and to all the birds of the air, and to all creatures that move upon the surface of the earth, and that have the breath of life in them. And it was so. Why did I mention this picture? Yeah. So, yes, that's me. Okay? That's me right there. A little shameless promotion. No. Why I'm showing you this. When I was doing this program, I'll tell you about it. It's called KMAC Fitness. Some people had mentioned it to me before. They'd seen me on it. It's a largely South Asian-based fitness program. They're helping. The transformations are incredible. I did this program for one reason and one reason alone. I've been largely fit for most of my life. The reason I did this is I told the founder of the program, I want to be a walking billboard for veganism. That's why I did this. This is not about me. This is literally, I don't care if this is, you can replace me with someone else. If someone else has a bigger voice, then I'd rather put that person up there. What I want people to know is when I walk around and they see this physique, I want them to know, when they ask me, what did you do? Everyone always wants to know what the question was. And they want to know, what did you eat? What did you eat? And they're expecting me to say, oh, I have meat with a side of meat and I'm protein. That's what they're expecting me to say. No, I eat plants. That's what I eat. Don't tell me it requires a meat-heavy diet or it requires dairy. And so if I can walk around, thank you. So if I can walk in the room and this is, and unfortunately, this is what society rewards more than anything else, right? But this is a fraction of what we're all about. But I know that when I walk in the room, it speaks for itself. People want to know. And if I can open up the doors to compassion for all beings because of the way I look, then I accomplished something. That's ultimately what I want to be able to do. And I think everyone's capable to some degree or another in this room. So I'm going to give credit to AI for generating this one. Okay? But what you're going to notice, and for those of you who are back there may not be able to see it, but you've got a couple people who are doing some farming here. And I know we've got a varying degree of religious backgrounds here, but you can see their third eye is all open. And so as they're planting together, as they're meditating down here amongst the animals and nature, this is their world vegan vision. And that's what I hope to implement with everyone. So I don't know if all of you, and this I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to do this as I close. I don't know what all of your meditation background is. Some of you may have never done it before. Maybe some of you have dabbled in it, and maybe you're like me, where you have a daily practice of it. Doesn't matter what it is. I want to be able to do something together. So if everyone can sit upright in their chairs. Good. If it's more comfortable for you, you can sit with your back against the chair. Ideally, you're keeping if you end up doing this at home, you keep your back off the chair, but it's totally fine if you keep your back on the chair. And that's okay. And so sit upright and take your hands and place them with your palms facing upward and rest them on your thighs. Ideally, you're placing your hands at the junction between your abdomen and your thighs. What you're going to notice by doing that, it prevents you from leaning forward. But more important here is that you're just able to do it comfortably. So place your hands wherever's comfortable for you. Your chin parallel to the floor. So basically, you're looking just straight ahead of you. And what I want you to do is concentrate your eyes at the point between your eyebrows. Now, if you're wondering where that is, what happens is if you're new to meditation, you might go a little high and you'll start straining. So if you're not sure where that is, you can take your finger, your index finger, and put it right here at the point between your eyebrows and just extend it out in front of you. And that's about how high you're going. That's it. So what you can do is you're going to close your eyes and you're going to concentrate at that point. We're not going to start yet. I'm going to do one thing before that. Okay, but that's exactly the posture you're going to have. There's a little thing I do when I don't have a whole lot of time to meditate, is there's a little energization exercise you can do. You can really get your body going. Don't get me wrong, I love coffee. Still drink coffee. But this is something that you can do on your own. So sitting in that exact position, we're going to take a double inhalation. We're going to tense our entire body, every muscle in your body. And then you're going to do a double exhalation through your mouth. So inhale like this, tense your whole body, and then through your mouth. Good. Okay, so we're going to do that together 3 times. After that, I'm going to guide you into a different type of meditation, and then we're going to end on a third type of meditation. Only take a couple of minutes. Okay? So get in that position, spine erect, shoulders relaxed, chin parallel to the floor, palms facing upward, your eyes closed, and slightly lifted upward gaze to the point between your eyebrows. And all together, through your nose, inhale twice, tense your entire body, every muscle in your body, hold it, and release. Let's do it again. Double inhale. Tense every muscle in your body and release. Breathe in, double inhalation, and tense every muscle, and exhale. Now just like that, keep your eyes closed, maintain that position, maintain your posture, and just let your breath go in and out through your nose, all on its own. Just be a passive observer of your breath. Think not of what was, nor what will be. Be here now. Aware of your breath effortlessly going in and out, all on its own. Already you may notice that your mind starts to wander. That's okay, that's normal. Bring your attention back to your breath, back to your breath. If your back starts to slouch, no worries. Straighten it. If your shoulders get tense, don't worry about it. Just relax them. You are perfect as you are. Just be aware of your breath. In and out. In and out. You may hear sounds around you. Just let them drive by like a car you see passing by. Bring your attention back to your breath. Enjoy the silence. Enjoy just being completely whole, completely perfect as you are. And now, with your eyes still closed, imagine yourself in a warm, enveloping white light. Just think of the feeling when it feels like when the sun hits your body. Envelop yourself in that white light. And extend love to yourself, compassion for yourself. Now, extend that love to everyone in this room. Imagine every single individual in this room bathed in that white light. It's warm and inviting. We're all one. Now extend that warm white light to the entire greater community outside of this restaurant. to Long Island, to New York City, New Jersey, wherever your home is in this area. Expand that warm white light to those areas. It all began with you and expanded beyond you to those areas. Now expand that white light, that warm white light of compassion to the entire state, all the individuals in it. You have enough room in your heart for them, no matter what your differences are, no matter who they are or what you are. Just love, unfiltered love. Unfiltered compassion. Now, despite all of our differences, extend your love, your compassion, this warm white light. Imagine it throughout the entire country. The entire country, from here to California, to Alaska, to even Hawaii, as far as you can think with the United States, envelop it in warm white light. Now for the world. Picture this beautiful blue globe as you're a giant being from space looking at it. As the sun hits the earth with warm white light, completely enveloped with compassion and love, the entire earth. Every being, human and non-human. You have enough room in your heart for them to love them as yourself. Imagine the entire world unified as one, seeking one thing. We all want love. We all want compassion. We all want to give compassion. Now gently open your eyes. Remain still just for a moment and just be. Okay. Thank you very much. Should I take any questions or anything? So, should I take a moment just for any questions? Yeah, sure. So, yeah, okay. So, thank you so much, all of you. If anyone has any questions about anything, oh, sure. If any, yeah. Questions, comments, or anything, I'm more than happy to. I think he's going to bring a microphone.
Please state your name and keep your questions brief.
I'm Sushma Kundawala. Dr. Sumeet Bahl, I have a question. Like a person or a patient is taking whereas we're not exactly patient, a diabetic person or whoever has a problem. They are taking 81 mg aspirin. So if the sugars are lower and things like that after becoming veganism, should they stop 81 mg aspirin or should? Because doctor, if you say them, they never stop.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, doctor never stop.
Sure. So what they're gonna, there's not one answer for that. I've gotten that question a lot about baby aspirin. What should I use it for? Every doctor's saying to do it. It's a low enough dose that there's generally low complications. The challenge with things like baby aspirin is I would really leave that to your doctor to decide that for. And the reason I mention that is because only your doctor knows your age, your health status, your genetics. You can go through everything with them. But the key here is that it's a low enough dose and it's largely low on complications. The challenge you're dealing with is the medical establishment doesn't just know enough about veganism in general to be able to say stop it. So they're going to say that your cardiovascular risk based on your age is enough, just continue doing that. But you may be able to be weaned off of multiple other medications. Yeah.
You give the mic.
I would that's a very specific question regarding your medication regimen. I would definitely talk to your doctor about that. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. I'm Nidhi Jaiswal, I'm a dietitian. First of all, so impressed by your presentation.
Thank you.
You know, you are, I'm listening to each and every word you were talking, and from your background, from radiology, to coming to veganism, talking about nutrition, food, how it affects your body, all the vitamins, macronutrients, micronutrients. It's phenomenal, and I think you are doing a great service to our community. At this young age, I was telling Ranu actually, look at him how young he is, and how much knowledge you are imparting to our community. We really want to thank you for all that you are doing. And veganism definitely is a choice, and you have explained the benefits, and let you know, because they will decide. But thank